This is the Backlog Exposed Podcast with Kevin Lane and Joel Rubel, bringing you weekly discussions on gaming as well as quick insights into sports, entertainment, and anything else that they can think of. Be sure to check out the backlogexposed.com, where you can listen to the podcast and get links to Twitter, Discord, YouTube, and Facebook.
I'm Joe.
I'm Kevin.
And we are
The Backlog
Exposed. Yeah!
Now, gear up and get ready because this backlog is about to be exposed.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 53 of The Backlog Exposed. I am one half of the tag team duo known as The Backlog. With me as always is...
I'm Joe.
That's who it is. That's who's with me today.
A little bit of something.
I'm going to make a commitment.
A little bit
you.
of something. A little bit of something.
I'm going to make a commitment that I think what we need to do here is increase the number of sound bites because I don't think we have enough.
Yeah, dude, we need some more.
We need some more. We need some more sound bites, but I got some news for everybody. It's 4/28. 2019 is when we're doing this recording. We're going to probably release this episode on the 29th. And one of the key things here, let me fix my microphone because for some reason I'm coming in low. How am I sounding to you, Joe?
Sound good, man.
Sound good? All right.
I like this blue ball. It's nice, man.
So appreciate it, man. Hey. So, yeah, anyways, what I was going to say is, so we hit some milestones over the past week and a half, and Joe and I have been working hard on the social media aspect of our lives, and we've breached 1,000 followers on both Instagram and Twitter, which is a pretty. I mean, look, we're old men, okay?
It's 1,000 apiece, though, not 1,000 total. It's 1,000 on each platform.
And I'd say that they're different, vastly different audiences. They both give me a little bit of information as to, the demographics and whatnot. And while, at the beginning of all this, it was our friends and family and stuff helping us out, things have slowed down there because there's, only so many people going around. And it's picked up in the organic world where, it's just kind of spreading now. So, we're doing good there. And a little bit harder is getting people to actually subscribe to your YouTube channel. And Joe's already got over 130, 140 over at Team Emar Gaming. But we haven't really been pushing it on the backlog. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to push it though. I mean, well, it's easy to push it, but it's hard to get those subs, man. It is. It is,
but we're up to 80 as of today. Maybe by tomorrow or the next day we'll have 100 and be able to snag that name, the Backlog
link.
Pod. Yeah, because that's what we've been waiting for before we really want to start pushing all the other stuff that we've been talking about for months and months. I mean, I've been setting up. I got my studio. Joe's got his new Elgato, and we're just ready. We've been talking about it, but now it's time to shine. And without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Joe. He's gonna tell you a little bit about something known as a chair.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. A couple of days go by. Everyone knows I sell Lucid Sound headsets. I got in contact with one of the marketing managers there. Asked them if they had an affiliation with any other gaming chair company, because I've been trying to find a gaming chair to do a review on for quite some time. And just so happened, man, that Lucid Sound does a lot of business with Noble gaming chairs out of Europe. So they went to PAX East. I think it was back last month sometime, and they actually talked to the guy over Noble Chairs and got an email last week that they're actually sending me a chair. It'll be here on the 30th. So I'll be kind of excited to see what kind of chair I get, and I'll do a review on it, and then I'll, of course, put it on my YouTube channel and the Backlog Exposed YouTube channel, and so everybody can see it.
Yeah, and one of the key things, because we've been doing some reviews here and there, and Joe and I have actually been doing product reviews for about 2.5, 3 years now, where basically people trying to sell stuff, they reach out to us, and we actually take the product, try it out, and then we try or attempt to give an honest review on Amazon or wherever else, right? So we've been doing that. A lot of that's small fries, though. My wife also has been doing that. If you're interested in learning how to do that kind of stuff, just tweet us. It's interesting because if you're not good at it, or if you don't give honest feedback, you're not going to be
It's all about the
selected long
honest
term.
feedback, man. You can't be lying about how good a product is and it actually sucks.
Yeah, because a lot of times, there's gimmick type sites where they're just looking for 5-star ratings, but then there's the real programs that are third party hosted, and my wife has been doing that a lot. She just got a riding lawnmower and a dishwasher, so I don't know what to say, but we got a dishwasher and a riding lawnmower coming to review, but we get to keep it. Sometimes you don't. I got a one of those digital thermostats once, and I had to install it thinking I'm going to keep it forever. And at the end of the trial period, they said, yeah, send that shit back. And that sucked because usually you get to keep it. But my point is, when a company takes the dive on a multi-$100 product and is taking that risk to let somebody try it. I mean, Joe's a critical person. He talks about what he likes, but let me tell you, if this chair isn't any good, Joe's going to be honest about it. Let me.
Damn right I'll be honest about it. Because I wouldn't want somebody to go out there and spend the $400 or $500 it costs for a gaming chair, just, you know what I mean, just because of a name or someone said it was good when it really wasn't.
Yeah, and so that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to do, is honest reviews. And if you check out our website, I know it's been a few months, but on the backlogpod.com, which, little hint there, we shortened that up a little bit for y'all. We're kind of changing gears. We got the Backlog Pod. We're the Backlog Podcast, and the other Backlog Podcast is they're done for. They've taken a hiatus. That was going to be our original name, and so we're taking it back. And with that, that's what we're kind of waiting on the branding. So we have Twitter and Instagram, both the Backlog Pod. The website now, the Backlog Pod, and all the logos and everything. All that stuff's getting updated. Just taking off the exposed because I think our exposure is good enough.
Yeah, tell them why we did it though, because I don't want to think we're just changing in mid sentence or whatever. But
yeah, actually,
let them kind of know why we did
it. The truth is, I was actually submitting some of our stuff to, I forget which site it was, but it gave me one of those warnings and said you've used a improper word, and I was like, what the fuck? So I tried again, submitted it, and then I realized the word exposed. One of the weird things about that is exposed can be interpreted a couple of different ways, but when we thought of the name, we were going through and we tried the Backlog Podcast, and of course, like I said, it was taken at the time. Someone had just taken it, and it's not trademarked or anything. I mean, I could go call myself the Backlog Podcast all I want, but I didn't want to mess with somebody who just started theirs, so we were coming up with different names, and we tried so many different things, and they were all taken. And Joe and I talked about what we're going to be doing here, and it's like, well, we're going to be talking about our backlog. So showthebacklog.com or talkaboutthebacklog.com. We're just thinking of all the things we could, and one of the words that came up was exposed. It's like, we're exposing our backlog to the world. And while we talk a lot about the games we're currently playing, and lately the games we're currently playing are the same games every week, the Call of Duties and the Fortnites, over the course and the life of this podcast, we're going to tackle a lot of games, and it's actually going to be starting once these studio stuff and our YouTubes and all that's kicked off. We're going to do some
well,
show
starting
and
off
plays.
too, you got to think we got to play games and mention games that's hot that people are playing right now. You can't just go in and say, oh yeah, we're playing Super Mario 3. You know what I mean? Like, no one's gonna even pick up on it. I'm like, oh, that's stupid.
But if they know us and they want to see you play Super Mario 3, then they'll jump right in.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You just gotta build that audience first and let them know, hey, this is what we're playing. This is what we're gonna start playing. You know what I mean?
100%. So, Joe, do you remember I was on a podcast called PSVR Life way back early? It was probably about 4 months ago now. And,
it was a while back.
Yeah, and so he was, the guy's name was Danthal, and he has had a pretty big VR podcast. And I'm huge into the VR world. Joe is too. He will be. But, no, anyways. I love that soundbite. So, anyways, oh shit. Joe done it. Joe went and got some sound bites for us.
Hey, you're gonna like this one.
What?
That is my 6-year-old son. Thank you.
That's perfect. So, but yeah, I was on this podcast and we talked for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. That's usually what happens when I get on a podcast. I just talk forever. I can't shut up. But Danthal was he's a pretty cool guy. He ran his thing, and it wasn't too much longer after that, maybe 3-4 weeks. He shut his whole thing down, and it's a lot of work to do all this stuff. And if it doesn't feel worth it, that's when you start saying, I'm not going to edit tonight, or I'm not going to.
Well, I think the problem is though, man. Honestly, if you were to strictly just go in as a the PSVR and that's it, that's a very, very, very small crowd.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, Joe, you have to keep up with all of the news of all the games, because there's so many people doing it on that niche market that if you don't play the games that they're telling you to play and sending you, and you have to do it week over week. I mean, some weeks are just busier than others. Do you want to be playing a $2 game, on a busy day? No, but that's what he had to do, and so it sounds fun, right? At the beginning, it's like, oh, I got a free game. Cool, I can review it. But next thing you know, you're reviewing like the shittiest games ever because those people just want to have their names out there, and you almost feel obligated to give it.
That is part of the business that you ask for, though, is
100%
running a podcast or doing reviews. You're not always going to get the Call of Duties and the Battlefields and the Days Gone and all that. You're going to get Feed My Plant or whatever. You're going to get those games, and you have to do it. That's part of it,
100%. And I think that burns some people out, especially when they're really committed. This guy Danthal was. But going back to the original point, too, was on his wrap-up show where he said thanks to all the people who helped him out over the years, he was saying thank you to everybody and then dogged us real hard. And I don't understand why.
Did he really?
Yeah, well, he was like, oh, thank you, this guy, so much for coming on and talking to me for 2 hours. It was great to have you. And, then there's Kevin from the Backlog Exposed. Really weird name for a podcast. I just don't get it. Yeah, I just, I don't understand that name. But, anyways, then we had this other guy, and blah, blah, and it's like, I spent 2 hours of my time with him. I would do it again. He wasn't a bad guy, but it was very awkward to hear that was my thanks, for my participation. And I always commit, if I'm going to say I'm going to sit with you and talk, I'm giving it my all. I've sat on, I gave it 2.5, 3 hours with my cousins on an MMA podcast, MMA Marks, which, if you haven't checked them out, they have a hell of a podcast. And then after the PSVR Life podcast, I jumped on Play PSVR. And I had given those guys some feedback because I like to listen to podcasts, and since Joe and I do these, we want feedback too, and that's one of the other things. If you know you're getting feedback, good or bad, it keeps you going. If you know someone's listening and they have some,
man.
Yeah, so I'd given these guys some feedback, and they took it. They didn't take all of it because they didn't need to. They had their own show, and they didn't need all of it. But and they are Play PSVR, Adam and Alex. Those guys, Alex has been on our show. And I listened to those guys too, and they kind of took over the VR market for podcasts. They were growing anyways, and then Danthal left. Well, long story short, Danthal's back, but I think that Adam and Alex still have that market. They have a funny style. And Joe, if you recall, Adam's the one from Kentucky. We were going to have them on, and I think both of you couldn't make it that day, but I've been talking with Alex. We're going to try to make it happen again, and we're going to have the Kentucky duo talking to, me and Alex to round it out, I think. We'll try that sometime and do a little cross-promotion there with the Play PSVR guys.
Oh, I'm down.
But yeah, so what do you think, Joe?
Speaking of Alex, while we're talking about it, remember, Ray Bebe?
Oh, yeah. Ray Bebe.
He's coming back to the States finally, man. He'll be here the 30th, so...
in Kentucky?
And he already said he went... No, he's not coming to Kentucky. He's coming to Indiana for 20 days, and he's going to be stationed in New Mexico. But he's already said that he's going to be on he wants to be a guest on our podcast.
Let's do it, man. I'd love to have him on.
Or he wants to be on the podcast whenever, because he said now he'll be in the States. He'll be able to help us out and log on, or, not log on, but join our podcast and hang out with us. Yeah,
I think that, oh, man, if you guys haven't caught the Twitch channel, Team Emar Gaming, which is Joe's channel, and he gets on there, so there's a couple different styles that Joe has, and Joe, you can enhance this for me if you want, but I'll just, from a viewer's perspective, I'll watch Joe any day. When he's playing with his buddy Adam, it's it's lighthearted, it's fun, there's a lot of joking, a lot of ribbon, but they've known each other all their lives. And so it's down to business, right? A lot of it is...
it's business time, dude. We got to get in there and get them wins.
They play hard. Both of them are really good gamers. So for me as a viewer, it's watching and seeing and learning and all that stuff. But the other day, he's over here playing with Ray on Borderlands, and I was gonna jump on, but I ended up just watching because I was having fun watching these two.
I'll be on in like 20 minutes. Your ass never came on. You were in the chat the whole time. I'm like, what's
I
this
know.
guy doing?
Well, that's what you did to me, man. I was watching you like I'm watching these other people. I was literally just sitting in my chair laughing because I don't know Ray very well. I've played with him a few times, but they're jiving back and forth, and their humor, it was worthwhile. It was fun to watch. So I didn't even need to get in and play. Before you know it, I forgot I was supposed to get in there and play because I've been working on all these stupid stingers, and if you've subscribed to our YouTube, you'll see
they're not stupid, bro. They're good.
Well, stupid as in like, I don't need all of them, but I'm learning with a lot of this stuff is it's just getting in there and doing it. And if you don't know what a stinger is, well, if you're watching a video and you're cut from like, camera 1 to camera 2, there's a transition video. Like sometimes it's a fade, just a fade in and a fade out or whatever. Or if you're watching UFC, their logo will splash across the screen real fast, and it's just a cool effect. It's something to make you look a little bit better. And I've been trying to learn that with Adobe After Effects and stuff, and some of it, I'm learning from other people's templates. So I'll take a template that is free or something, and I'll enhance it or tweak it or whatever, put our logo in there. And it's actually turned out to be pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, and I got some other stuff up my sleeves that if done right, or if I can pull it off, it'll make the presentation of our Twitch channels even that much better. So it'll
now they're
look
fun,
like...
man. I like a couple of... Matter of fact, I was gonna... Speaking of the stinger, you made one and put Team More Gaming on it, and right as I was about to create one this morning for my YouTube channel, I noticed that we streamed last night for like an hour and a half. Me and Adam and Ray were playing Call of Duty, and we were all bullshitting. And I was like, "Hey man, I think there's a team down here below us at this house." So me and Adam ran over there, and they were in a car. Dude, I chucked a grenade over a rock in between two houses and blew up a truck, which killed 2 people. Right. So we are at this point. I'm yelling like acting stupid, and then I come in this morning. My damn mic wasn't even on. I was pissed.
Oh, is that what you were talking about? Okay.
Yeah, so the red light's on. The red light was on, but if it's not completely seated,
yep,
you don't know it. So I just plugged my mic on and started recording and was going through it. Adam and them couldn't tell a difference because they hear me on my headset. And then, yeah, man, I came in. I was like, damn it, I didn't even get a chance to upload that video because my mic wasn't even on.
I like this blue ball. It's nice, man.
Shit. So, I want to jump in because this one's going to be about a 30-minute podcast today. We have a bunch of stuff going on. We'll probably hit you later this week with some more stuff. But a couple of things to talk about real quick is one, Joe. So I'm only going to give about 2 to 3 minutes on this, and then I'll swing it over to you. But I got a free code to play World War Z. And it's something that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. If you haven't watched the movie, it's definitely worth watching. World War Z, it had Brad Pitt in it, and it was many years ago. But they have been building this game for quite some time, and I think they were supposed to come out with another version of the movie, and I don't know if it got pushed back or not. But
I really wish they would come out with another version of that movie. It was awesome.
Yeah, I loved that movie a lot. I had a really good story development. So developer Saber Interactive, with the help of publisher Focus Home Interactive, they put out this game, and it came out last week or a little over a week ago, and I just finally got a chance to dive into it today. And I want to just give my quick thoughts before any full review, but that way you can, if you're on the fence with this game, and you might be able to have a little bit more insight. So if you've ever played Left 4 Dead, which was a 4-person zombie wave type shooter, it kind of innovated what you see today in a lot of these zombie wave games, even the Call of Duty zombies mode and all that. Now, one of the things that made Left 4 Dead so awesome was the different types of characters. I mean, you pull out an axe or hatchet or chainsaw or whatever, and also the zombie waves. You'd have hordes, or what they at the time it felt like hordes, but there was never a game that could do hordes in the terms of like 85 to 200 zombies literally rushing you at any given second. It was more like 30 and scattered over the, a pretty varied map. And you had to, you had to revive your players, your teammates when they were downed, and you got to make it to the next stage. Well, that's what this game feels like to me. I heard at the beginning beforehand that this wasn't a Left 4 Dead clone, but I wouldn't say it's a clone by any means. Left 4 Dead.
So you're saying I never played Left 4 Dead, but you're saying in Left 4 Dead there was only like a max of like 30 zombies or whatever, and you're saying in World War Z there's like hundreds. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So one of the things that Left 4 Dead did was at the time, and we're talking Xbox 360, it was a zombie apocalypse. So yeah, going to what you were saying,
What?
yes, they had their hordes, but no, they were never. And don't quote me on the number of zombies, but
well, yeah, obviously, I mean, you're just throwing out a number, but
exactly, it just felt
it was
like
enough. It was enough to maintain.
Correct, and at the time, it felt like a lot. But in comparison, when you're playing this World War Z, it definitely they're clawing at each other to get to you. They're coming down the hallway, knocking each other over, and they're rushing you, and it's way more intense on the World War Z.
Sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen.
Oh yeah. And in the World War Z, they do the scene where they're climbing on top of each other to get to the helicopter or get up over the wall. They do that in this game too. They're just like they're animal crazed zombies in this game. So, to be honest, it's really fun in that aspect. A couple of key things that any developer can fix, so I hope that they are, is crashes. The game crashes quite a bit. In my
how long has it been out?
A week and a half.
Yeah, that's about typical, I guess you could say, for these games anymore.
Yeah, and so one of the key things though is this ain't Fortnite, right? Fortnite, they're pumping out updates every week, and it's made people expect that kind of stuff nowadays. And I think I'm trying to quell my needs and say, well, let's not expect too much, right? But I pumped this.
That is sad though, dude. That's how everyone's expecting games now because they pump them out so fast.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, we'll buy the game and then we'll give it 2 weeks to fix all the bugs and glitches it's got.
Yeah,
but
it's. I'll tell you what though, Joe. I put this game in, or I downloaded it, turned it on, tried to load up my first match, and it crashed before my first match, and it said all of your progress has been deleted, or whatever.
Shit.
Like when I started it back up, it said, all your progress is gone. You have to recreate everything. And it's like I hadn't had any at the time, but I found that kind of odd. Like you'd think that kind of crashing, whatever, that they would have nipped that in the bud.
Well, I wonder if that was a preset though for people that had an early copy. And
no, it was literally one of those blue
the
screens.
Game, and then once you load the game in, it erases all your data. Because they did that with Call of Duty. If you had an early copy, as soon as you would launch the game, all of your data was set back to 0.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that though, Joe. It was like you get into the game, you start playing, and it's loading the lobby, and boom, it's crash, blue screen, like a blue screen of death type, error 16592, whatever. So, and that happened to me. I played for an hour and a half. I got 4 crashes in that hour and a half, and 2 of those crashes, it erased my progress. The first one and the third one.
Sucks.
So if that's gonna keep happening, that's a big problem. I tried both the multiplayer.
Especially if it's erasing your progress. That sucks.
Yeah, it definitely is ridiculous. Now the multiplayer progress is just like any other game, like a like a Battlefield or a Call of Duty, where you get guns and you can level up the pieces or whatever. The types of guns or your kit. Like if you're a medic or whatever, it's kind of like a combination, right? Of
so
Battlefield.
So is this like a not an RPG, but is it like a continuation game? Like you survive so many waves and you can go out and scavenge some items and then come back, or
so this is what
like Call of Duty Zombies where you go until you can't go anymore?
No, it's a continuation game. So there's 2 different modes. There's co-op mode, which is I think it's 4 people, just like a Left 4 Dead, where you're playing a story. You can replay the same missions over and over, but there's level 1 story A, B, C, D or whatever, and then you pass all that. And the co-op mode is dynamic, so if you don't have anyone to play with, you can jump in and you'll join whoever has an open spot. I fear that if the game doesn't maintain its player base, that could get tough, especially in the later rounds. But it also has this multiplayer mode, which is the first thing I jumped into. And the multiplayer mode is just like a multiplayer with Call of Duty or something, where you're playing demolition or what's it called, team deathmatch or domination or something. And the difference is they have zombie hordes. If you're making too much noise or you're running around with shotguns or whatever, the horde will come and chase you. And you can actually use it to your advantage, and you can go underground where a lot of these zombies are hiding. And like I ran underneath. I had two guys behind me, two enemies, and I ran towards the zombies, just fired a couple shotgun shots, and they all came chasing me. And I went up and over, and then they attacked and killed the two enemies instead of me.
Oh, so you're saying you can play multiplayer like Call of Duty, but you're playing people, but there's also zombies on the map.
Yeah, and they're hordes. It's like you come around the corner and you could be looking at 45 to 50 zombies in a room the size of your bedroom, and they come at you like fucking maniacs. It's nuts. So I like this aspect, and you get points, you get XP for killing zombies as well in the match. And you could be sitting there trying to fight off zombies and get sniped or picked off or shotgunned by another player. So I haven't played enough of it to give a review yet. I'm liking what I see. I think that some of the defects and bugs with the resets and that stuff, I'd like to see them take care of that. But outside of that, the gameplay seems pretty good so far. There's customization to the different classes. And the one thing I'll say right now, and we'll wrap this part up, is that there's no instruction, and I don't like that. I don't need
What do you mean there's no instruction?
I don't need hand-holding, but you get to the game and there's a menu, co-op or multiplayer. And there's no, I didn't do any research on the game other than watch some videos of people playing it. So I don't know what
like nothing at all. You just hope for the best, huh?
Yeah, I don't know what co-op is. I don't know what multiplayer is, right? I only know those terms because I've played these games before, but as I'm trying to look at this objectively. Okay, so I go into multiplayer, right? And I want to see what that is. There's no, menu that says multiplayer is a mode where you're playing against other players and zombies are there. There's no instruction like that. So you have, horde team deathmatch. And you have to use assumptions. And once you play it, you figure it out. So I'm not saying it's too big of a deal, but there is no direction. It
needs to have at least I wouldn't say a dummy down, but it needs to have generic.
Yeah, splash screens or something that just kind of give you some walk. You can look at your character stuff, but it does feel like it's lax on the menu and the opening type stuff. But again, it's a very minor thing because once you get in and play it a couple times, there's no need for that instruction. But it'd be good to just have some details. Co-op mode is 2 players or four players battling it out through a story. Blah 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 with some splash screens. Just something sell me on it. Tell me why I need to go into co-op mode. I know what multiplayer is, but I had no idea until I played it that this was multiplayer, just third-person Call of Duty, over the shoulder, with zombies and stuff. It's awesome. I actually like it a lot in that regard. But at the same time,
badass, though.
Yeah. But also it would be way better with friends. So there was nobody talking. One of those experiences where you're like, why the fuck can't I? And the classes seem very unbalanced. I think that might take some time to understand and perfect each one. There's got to be some balance there, but I couldn't find it in the hour and a half I played. One class was just unbelievable, the Warlord, and that's it. You fire your assault rifle and kill these guys with 4 shots. Using a submachine gun, it takes 16, so definitely significant. So I'll give you guys more detailed review written and kind of a final verdict too in a couple of days, probably by next podcast. And then I'll be looking at Days Gone because I want to do some zombie back-to-back. So I bought Days Gone. Joe really talked me into it. Joe, what'd you say? How'd you talk me into it? I forget.
I don't know. You sent me a text message and was like, man, I really want to get this game. I've been waiting for it and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, buy it. And you bought it. Really twisted your arm there, guy.
So,
What?
well, I know I was saying that we're not going too late here, but I wanted to give, without spoiling nothing, Joe just got out of Avengers Endgame. And Joe, I haven't seen it yet. I've been meaning to. I want to. But what's your takeaways? What's your initial feelings?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Ooh,
Movie
quadruple yeah.
is badass.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even really give any spoilers and like that. It was probably the best. It's the best movie I've seen in a very, very, very long time. It really tied in literally all 22 movies or 21 movies built up to this one. I took my kids and my son's 6, my daughter's 11. It's a 3-hour and 1-minute movie, and my son sat there the entire time watching this movie. I mean, it was that good. It had his attention, and fight scenes were good. The storyline was phenomenal from minute 1 until the movie went off.
Heard there were some epic battles too.
A lot of scenes you would not expect. There's a lot of times I was catching myself. Me and my wife was looking at each other, going, "What is this?" So definitely worth watching, man, and it's definitely worth watching in the theater because it makes it that much better.
Yeah, and I think right before we went live, we were looking at some numbers, and it looks like it's going to wrap up the weekend with a worldwide box office obliterating records for worldwide gross in a weekend, and it's over 1.2 or $3 billion.
I think it's like $1.3 billion, man.
Yeah, according to Box Office Mojo, which is
Stupid.
it's pretty good estimate. This is a movie. It's a must-see movie, I think, because when you think about the Avengers, and this is obviously the end game, right? They're gonna make more Marvel movies. They're gonna make more.
Well, yeah, they're already making a new Spider-Man. They're already
Yeah.
making, their talks of making all these other movies, but it's the Avengers. Robert Downey Jr. is going to be done after this movie apparently, and then Captain America said he's done after this movie, and just all these people. It's like, look, it was a good ride, but I think it's time to call it quits. But
you have to think too,
they're still
like,
going to have Marvel movies.
Yeah, and the commitments that these actors have made to do the specific character. Some actors, they want to be diverse in their portfolio. Others are probably like, that's enough. I'm done. I've made $100 million. I mean, what isn't?
I mean, dude, look at Robert. He's been Iron Man since 2008.
Yeah, and if you recall, when he became Iron Man, that was a reviving of his career. He had already.
Yeah, he was rock bottom, dude.
Yeah, he came and went, and he was toast before he became Iron Man. So I mean, I can understand him saying I'm done and looking to move on with his life. Maybe do other films or just write off. I mean,
I don't think he'll do another film. I can't see him.
Well, I hope he does comedies. I hope he does another Tropic Thunder, man. That would be.
Well, one of his movies, what was it called? Due Date. It was funny.
Yeah.
With Jack Black Galifianakis or whatever.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, it was good. It was funny, but for 10 years, you see this guy as a serious, Iron Man. Gidgets and gizmos or whatever the hell you want to call it, just blowing shit up, and then he goes to another movie, and it's just like, I think you've kind of sealed your fate on what movies you can make now.
As we wrap it up, I want to point out one thing that I think is very key, and the reason we have to wrap it up is because I know my wife is in the other room going, we're 25 minutes past due on watching episode 3 of Game of Thrones. Joe doesn't watch that yet, so tweet at him, Team Emar Gaming, and tell him to watch that fucking show because it's so incredible. But we're going to go watch episode 3. Yeah, exactly. Just don't watch it with your kids in the room. Lots of boobs. But one of the things that one of the things that I noticed, a really good series, something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Game of Thrones or Lost, I don't know, just TV shows that are just really solid. 24, Battlestar Galactica. Some of these ones that have these massive followings, the people playing the parts end up being the part. So when you think of like Iron Man, you're thinking of Tony Stark, you're thinking of Robert Downey Jr., right? You're not thinking of the cartoon character from when you were a kid. And they've done a phenomenal job of casting to the point where these people, like we were just saying, sometimes they want to move on and do some other things with their careers, but like Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Iron Man for the rest of his life, whether he likes it or not. And, he'll be doing appearances and, make a wish stuff, probably just, he's going to be Iron Man. And that's what we've ingrained in our heads. And you can't even imagine anyone else doing as good of a job as him. He was perfect for that role. And when you think
he did a phenomenal job as Iron Man, though, because he was a prick, arrogant, and that's exactly what Iron Man needed to be.
And think about back at the beginning of this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe when they had the Hulk, and how many they've had 3 or 4 different Hulks, and they finally got one that he's done a hell of a job. I mean, I personally really wish we had seen a Hulk movie, an independent one. I think we might. I don't know. We'll see. But I think he did a great job as the Hulk. I forget his name, but even
Ruffalo, something.
Yeah,
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo, and all the
Ruffalo.
characters have just done a really, really good job of being that. And I think that's what helps sell the universe. When you're looking at Game of Thrones, and you can watch like reels of the auditions, and some of these actors are auditioning for roles that they never got. And so you're like, wow, could you imagine if this guy got that role and that guy got this role, and how different it would be? Now, likely it wouldn't be any different, right? Your mind wouldn't know the difference if this other guy got it. And these actors are all really good, but sometimes it's the right mix. Jon Snow, Kit Harington playing Jon Snow, for example, I couldn't imagine a different Jon Snow in that role. This guy plays the part perfectly, from the sad faces to the serious faces to the humor, to the accent to everything, right? If you read the books, this is the guy, this is what you expected. This is what you wanted out of a character. Same with Daenerys Targaryen. Just these actors, when they do such a good job, it can't lose. But then you look over at the DC universe, and how many times have they had to reboot Batman and this and that? Now, I've loved almost every one of those movies I've seen, but there is a difference. You can interchange who plays these characters, and they're so willing to do
none
that.
of these guys, man, in my opinion.
Yeah, and what's crazy is, they're talking about rebooting the Suicide Squad. Reboot. The movie just fucking came out, and they're rebooting it as if the other one didn't exist, or they're just swapping some of these actors out, and there's a new Joker movie coming out. So that's the difference.
Well, that's got Joaquin Phoenix in that. Have you seen the new trailer for that one?
I can't wait to see that, because now look, Joaquin Phoenix is a unparalleled actor. I think he's got some incredible skills. He could cement the future of the Joker. I think if Heath Ledger never died, and if you think back to Jack Nicholson's Joker, those Jokers made the character. The actors made the Joker, right? Joaquin Phoenix, I think, has that in him, and it could reboot this whole franchise. But Ben Affleck's out. They're fucking over Henry Cavill, who I thought was a pretty solid Superman. But Joe, have you seen Shazam?
No, I heard it was really good.
Oh, you got to go see Shazam. Shazam was so good. I think for the role and the character, they picked the right guy. The guy, if you ever saw Chuck, the TV show, way back about 10 years ago.
I haven't seen it.
It was a funny TV show, and he was a great actor in that show, and he plays Shazam. And if you watch the movie, yeah, maybe they could have gotten other people, but he did the job of Shazam very well. And so I think that I can't wait to see the Avengers and see some of these storylines wrap up, see what continues from it as well. But I'd like to see DC start pulling some effort. I know Aquaman was good and Wonder Woman was good.
Aquaman was good, man, but they need to step their game up, dude. They're way behind the power curve when it comes to movies. But
I can't get enough of these
man,
movies,
let's wrap
man.
it up so you don't get punched in the face by your wife.
I know. I can't get enough of all this stuff. This is what helps curate the backlog. We appreciate the support. Don't forget to follow Team Emar Gaming on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and Twitch. And don't forget to follow the Backlog Pod. The same thing, right? Pretty soon it'll be YouTube too.
Yep.
Joe, it's been a hectic couple of weeks. We're starting to pick it up, and I don't know what are you gonna be playing for the next week?
Well, I got one more trophy left for Borderlands, the Platinum Mint, and then I'll probably I don't know, man, play some Duty, obviously with Adam and them, but I'm gonna try and jump on something soon. We'll see what happens. Well,
make sure you reach out to Joe Jason as well. He went out and purchased Borderlands to play with me and you, and I just haven't had a chance yet, but I plan on getting in there, so should be some fun. He's always a good time.
Oh yeah.
Listeners of the podcast, if you want to play with us in any of these games or have a game to suggest, just shoot us a message on Twitter. It's probably the easiest way to do it. Without further ado, man.
I'm Joe.
I'm Joe.
I'm Kevin.
And we are
3 hours later.
I gotta step up my game. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm Kevin.
I'm Joe.
And this is
Backlog
Podcast.
I'm Joe. Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of something, something.